The Cuisinart Grind and Brew Plus. Welcome to my review of the Cuisinart Grind and Brew Bean to Cup coffee machine, model DGB 900 BCU. Let's take a look to see what you get with the machine. You get a quick start guide if, like me, you're too impatient to read a full manual. You get a 22-page clearly illustrated manual showing all the components and how to use the machine, how to set up the machine to get the best tasting coffee. You get 2 charcoal water filters. These are 2 replacements that I've actually bought from Amazon. I've used the ones that came with the machine, and these last up to 2 months easily. And you also get a coffee scoop with a brush on the end, and that is for cleaning the coffee shoot of the ground beans that you'll use. The pre-ground coffee scoop, that's great if you just want a decaffeinated coffee. Maybe somebody doesn't want a caffeinated coffee and they prefer decaf, or you might want a decaffeinated coffee when it becomes bedtime and you don't want to go to bed all full of caffeine. The machine has a top loading water tank situated at the back, and you can easily just lift the flap and put the water in. The water filter is on this strip here, and we just pull that out. Having pre-soaked the charcoal water filter for the recommended 15 minutes, just going to place the water filter into the holder, and I'm just going to snap that shut till you hear the click, and that filter now is ready to use. I'm going to slot that back into the tank and shut the lid, and that's the filter ready. It has a water gauge on the side of the machine showing it's going up to 12 cups. It's a good thing to try and remember. It says 12 cups, but those are actually small cups. If you want a mug, really 2 cups would make 1 mug. I usually make about 4 coffees, and that gives me 2 good sized mugs. Also, it's good to point out that it has a brushed stainless steel casing. The bean hopper situated on the top of the machine can hold up to 227 grams of fresh beans, and it's got a lovely seal around the top to hold your beans in place and to make sure that there's no air gets in and they are kept to the freshest possible taste. It's also got on the top there a quick release knob so that you can undo that and remove the hopper completely from the top of the machine. Those beans there are just some beans that's on top of the burr grinder, which is further down in there. But that's locked into place now, and you can pick those up. If that was full, because it's locked off the machine, they're not going to go anywhere. While we've got the lid off, we can actually see the chute where the coffee would go down into, and you can see there that it needs a good clean out. I haven't cleaned it for about 3 days, so with that brush on the end of the scoop, it would be just a case of sweeping that into the hopper, out the way of the hopper, sorry, and making sure that it's clean on a weekly basis. And then to put the hopper back, you just drop that back into place, push it down and lock it into position, and then you just replace the lid on the top. We're going to fill it with fresh beans shortly, and we'll make a pot of coffee. So looking at the control, we can see that it has a on-off button. So when you're actually ready to brew a pot of coffee, you hit that button and it will go through the cycle of grinding the beans and then putting them into the thermos carafe. If you only want to use pre-ground coffee, then you hit the grind off button and it would light up, so that when you hit that button it wouldn't take any beans and grind any beans. It will just take the water from the reservoir and soak it through your pre-ground coffee. The hours and the minutes button, those are for changing the time of day and pre-programming it to come on at a certain time. If you press and hold that button, it will flash and then you can go through changing the hours and the minutes so that you can choose the time of day. After a few seconds you can see it stops flashing and it's back out of that mode. This button here, that can change from 4, 6, 8, 10 or 12 cups of coffee depending on how many you want. So you'd put the water in the tank for how many coffees that you want to brew. I usually do sometimes between 4 and 6. So if I was going to make 6 coffees, which works out at about 3 mugs, I would turn it on to 6 and I would make sure that the reservoir had 6 lots of water onto the guide, and it takes all of the water to make that coffee. The coffee control button there, that changes from, if we look in the screen there, we can see the word mild, and that just cycles through from mild to medium to strong. So if you want a sort of stronger aroma coffee, you could put it on to strong, or you might want it on medium, depending on whether strong is too strong. I like a medium tasting coffee, so I tend to use it on medium. If you want to program the machine to come on, say at 7 o'clock in the morning there, and to sort of produce a coffee, then you would make sure that you've got beans in the machine if you was going to use fresh beans, or you'd make sure that you've put your pre-ground coffee in the coffee basket. And then it's a bit like changing the time of day. You would press that, hold it, and it would flash. You can see that it's flashing at 7:30. That is set for me to come on at 7:30. If you're happy with that time, then what you would do then is just a quick press of that. You can hear the machine clicking around, and that then is getting ready to go into program mode, and that would come on in the morning at 7:30, and it would brew me 6 cups of coffee, freshly ground beans. That is the thermal carafe, which they say should hold the coffee hot for about 6 to 8 hours. I find after a couple of hours that it's only warm, so I'm quite happy with that. I make my coffee and within about 2 hours I've drunk it anyway, so I'm quite happy with just having it hot for about 2 hours. It has a button on the side of the housing, which when pressed, that opens the brewing basket where you would put your pre-ground coffee, or where your beans would come through. Your beans would be ground, they drop into there if you're using fresh ground beans, and they drop into there. It comes with a gold tone filter, or you can use the paper filters. I tend to use the paper filters, and those are the cupcake filters that I actually use in the basket. So you can take off this actually spins around when it's being used to disperse the ground coffee evenly in the basket. That's the basket housing that the gold tone filter would sit in. I don't actually use the gold tone filter, that just sits onto there nicely. And then if I just take one of those filter papers, I can actually put a filter paper in there, and that's where my coffee beans will drop into. and they would drop into there nicely. If I was going to use a pre-ground coffee, then I would drop the pre-ground coffee into there before I pushed the brew button. So I have my filter paper in the filter holder. I'm just going to replace the lid on the top of there, and then I'm just going to shut that, click it shut. I'm going to add some beans, and then we'll brew some coffee. One of my favourite coffee beans is Taylor's Lazy Sunday. They are a medium roast, and as you can see they are grade 3. They are a lovely coffee bean. I've just opened the pack and I can smell an absolutely wonderful smell, as if it smells like you're at Costa Coffee. They are beautiful beans, they're not oily, they're just absolutely lovely, and those coffee beans have been roasted to perfection. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to load the hopper up with these beans, and we're going to make a coffee. So I'm just going to load the hopper with these beautiful beans. As I say, it holds a full bag of beans, 227 grams I think it is. Yeah, 227 grams in this bag, and it holds all of those. I'm not going to fill it all up to the top, but those are absolutely beautiful beans. I'm just going to replace that. That now will seal, because there's a beautiful rubber seal around there, and that's just going to seal those in. I usually drink those within about a week anyway, but you can always take the hopper off and put it in the fridge if you want to. I never do, but it's an option. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to load it up with some water and switch it on. So I've got my reservoir now holding 6 cups of water. That will give me 3 mugs of coffee. Okay, so that's the beans ground. It's dropped it into the basket, in my filter papered basket, and now it's going to drop the water through to make us some beautiful coffee. Those beans that have just been ground smell absolutely gorgeous. It's just as if I'm sitting in Costa Coffee, and it's right in my own home. So in true live demonstration style, my camera decided that the memory card was full, but the machine has just bleeped to say that the coffee is now complete, and we're going to pour a cup. So I'm just going to add a couple of spoons of sugar. Just going to remove this pot. It's a great lid actually, because it's got a ball in top of the lid, so that when you bring the jug forward, the coffee comes out. When you take it back, there's a ball bearing inside that shuts off the top of the carafe so that it remains hot. That is a beautiful cup of coffee, and the smell, the aroma is absolutely amazing. Thank you for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that if you are thinking about buying a machine like this, I hope this has given you some sort of an insight as to whether you want to buy it or not. That is lovely coffee. Thank you for watching.